Show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022, and we are live. Welcome to the African History Network show. What we're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. So on today's show, we're going to be joined in just a minute by Mfundishi Jhutyms, and we're going to, he's featured in the film Hapi. He's going to be here in Detroit, April 30th and May 1st for the One Africa Power and Unity Conference. And he's going to be doing a fantastic workshop dealing with how to use symptomatic thought when studying Medu Netcher and the Kemetic spiritual system. How to use symptomatic thought when studying the Medu Netcher and the Kemetic spiritual system. So we're going to have him on in a couple of minutes here to talk about that and talk about his presentation, and we'll talk some about the conference. Okay, we had Professor James Small on the show on Monday, April 18th. And then yesterday we had Asar Imhotep. Professor James Small will be here for the conference. Asar Imhotep will be here as well. So go back and listen to those shows if you missed them. And we have them on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. Okay. And then, we'll speak with Mfundishi in just a minute here. We've had him on the show before, but also we're going to talk some about Wells Fargo once again. So there was a story from CBS News dealing with attorney Benjamin Crump, and attorney Benjamin Crump has joined the fight against Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo discriminating against African-American homeowners who are trying to refinance their mortgages. Benjamin Crump says Wells Fargo is, quote unquote, killing Black homeowners' opportunities. Okay, so we're going to talk about that story. We also know that New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Okay, what just happened here? We also know that New York City Mayor Eric Adams is taking a stand against Wells Fargo. City government won't open any more accounts over banks' persistent track record of discrimination. Okay, hold on. We just lost our feed with Restream. All right, we're back on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so we're going to talk. Let me know when we have Mfundishi on the line. We'll speak with Mfundishi in just a minute here, but also we're going to talk about this story dealing with Wells Fargo once again. Now, about a month ago, we talked about Wells Fargo, how they were discriminating against, based upon a report from Bloomberg, how they were discriminating against African-American homeowners who were trying to refinance their mortgages. And it was something like 53% of African-Americans who applied for refinancing their mortgage were denied, and they had the highest refusal rates. Okay, so we're going to talk about those two stories today. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Okay, now, Mfundishi, who we've had here on the show before, brilliant brother. He is a great Grand Master, Kemetic priest, scientist, and African village chief. He is a highly sought after consultant, in areas of holistic wellness, African heritage and languages, education, international cultural immersion programs, and entrepreneurship. As a world-class Africologist, educator, author, and lecturer, Mfundishi speaks in the Americas, the Caribbean, Africa, and Europe. He is the founder and president of Jehuti Heru Neb Hu Kush Kemet, an unincorporated educational and cultural organization within their family-owned business called Black Gold Sacred Cultural Healing Center. This spiritual warrior is our historian for the development, maintenance, liberation, and independence of African people. So we want to welcome back to the African History Network show, Mfundishi Jhutyms. Hotep, brother, how you doing tonight? Okay, do we have Mfundishi on the line? Okay, okay, we'll figure this out. Okay, so be sure we have the flyer on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com for the One Africa Power and Unity Conference. Okay, and it's the conference is taking place here April 30th through May 1st, 2022, at the DoubleTree Hotel in downtown Detroit. Okay, I'll be there because I live right near the DoubleTree Hotel. We're going to have Dr. Linda Jeffries, Professor James Small, Mfundishi, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Professor Kabahai Wata Kamene presentation as well, Asar Imhotep, and others. All right, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the link here to register. If you can't come in person, the entire conference as well. So we have that right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. All right. All right. So we want to welcome back to the African History Network show, Mfundishi Jhutyms. Hotep, brother, how you doing tonight?
Peace and harmony.
All right, brother. All right. Good to have you.
I'm doing absolutely excellent.
Okay. Excellent, man. Good to have you back on. Okay. So your presentation sounds fascinating, and we've had you on the show before, and we've talked before. I remember meeting you at the ASCAT conference some years ago. It was at one of the colleges. I can't remember whether it's Newark, New Jersey, or one of them. But you're a brilliant brother. But your topic is going to be how to use symptomatic thought when studying Medu Netcher and the Kemetic spiritual system. So explain this to us, brother, because we have people to listen to the show that have different levels of understanding of history and things like this. So give us a synopsis of what you're going to talk about.
Yes. You see, there's only two ways that the mind interprets information.
Okay.
Symptomatically or symbolically.
Okay.
And symptomatically is innate. That's how the brain functions normally. That means I can prove it. I experienced it. I tasted it. I felt it. Mm-hmm. I know it intrinsically. Symbolically means that somebody just told me that. And it don't even have to be based on the truth or anything.
Right.
And so all of Egyptology is based upon symbolic thought. It's not nothing, like, for example, when the name of the ruler is inside of a shin, they call it a cartouche, which is French, for a cartridge bullet. Mm-hmm. They call Habu Imaketi the Sphinx. That's Greek. That has nothing to do with that monument.
Right. The Sphinx is Greek. Right.
Again, you see the symbolic thought is entrenched in it. That's to confuse you.
Right.
They say almost all the names of the kings incorrectly.
Right.
When you're reading the Medu Netcher, I talk about there's 5 domains that you have to master in order to understand symptomatic thinking.
Okay.
Number 1, you need to understand the spirit world. The spirit is energy. Mm-hmm. Energy is everywhere and is simultaneously happening everywhere at once. It is the consciousness of the Creator.
Right.
And we are all connected to that spirit. Mm-hmm. So that's the number 1. Africans have always been extremely spiritual people, not religious, spiritual.
Right.
So we understood that we're part of that. The reason why you can move an object is because your mind and that object are connected anyhow, and you use your energy to move it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So I'm just giving you some examples.
Right.
The next domain is the mineral domain. The sun is a mineral. The universe is made up of minerals. The planet is a mineral. We live on this mineral, and those same minerals, hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, all of those that make up the universe is part of us.
Right. Right.
We're made up of those same minerals, just in a different expression.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know squat about minerals. So I teach crystallology. We have to understand that all of these different minerals have specific energies, and those energies can relate to our consciousness or to our physical body.
That's called crystallology. What was the name of that? Crystallology?
Right. So I teach crystallology.
Okay.
And I teach the minerals. In other words, all gemstones, rocks, and crystals are either intrinsic, sediment, or metamorphic. Okay. And so we go into that, understanding the molecular structure of stones and crystals and gems. Mm-hmm. So this is also an energy force. So the third domain is the plant domain. Plants feed off of the mineral domain.
Right.
Like today, you'd have to eat 10 apples that have the same nutrition that an apple had in 1950.
Right. Okay, on that thought, Mfundishi, hold it just right there. We're going to pick up on apples in 1950. We're up against a break. We'll be back in a few minutes. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9 10 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We're speaking with Mfundishi Jhutyms. We'll be back in a few minutes. Jeanette Davis is a well-established author with 6 published books. Black Survival in White America from Past History to the Next Century was published in 1995, and it delves into the history of African Americans before slavery up to contemporary times. The Great Divide Between Blacks and Whites was released in 2008, and her autobiography, Black Just Like My Mama, was published in 2010. Soulful Journey, The Business of Beings, was released in December 2021, and her 2 latest books, Echoes from the Heart, Love Throws Poetry, and Master Being Human, were both published in January of 2022. Jeanette Davis' writings delve deeply into the psyche of Black people from ancient to contemporary times. She cuts no corners and leaves no stones unturned in relating truth, letting the chips fall where they may on both African and European doorsteps. Order Jeanette Davis's books today at Amazon.com. Search for Jeanette Davis and get to know her work today.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
Hotep and African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism is. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9 10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. All right, we're speaking with Brother Mfundishi Jhutyms. And right before the break, brother, you were talking about today you need to eat 10 times the amount of apples, or 10 apples compared to 1950. Okay, so go ahead and finish your thought.
And the reason why I said that, to let you know this association, is that because the minerals are not in the soil.
Yes.
So I'm trying to show you the plant domain feeds off of the mineral domain.
Okay.
So in order to get the nutrition out of all your vegetables and fruits and whatever it is, the energy has to be in the soil. So the plant domain is dependent upon this mineral domain. The mineral domain is dependent upon the spirit domain. Okay.
Right.
And now and all plants are our food and our medicine.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So our food and our medicine.
Right.
Then the next domain is the animal domain.
Okay.
All animals were here before we were.
Right.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
We're the last guy on the block.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be learning from all these things. If you want to know how to survive in the savannah, study the animals in the savannah. You want to know how to survive in the rainforest, you study the animals. But if you eat them all, you're not going to learn anything. So I'm going back to a plant-based type of diet. Okay.
Okay.
So now humans are the fifth domain. If you don't know nothing about the spirit, you don't know nothing about the mineral, you don't know nothing about the plant, you don't know nothing about the animal, now you wonder why we're psychotic. Why can we be manipulated? Because we don't know anything about who we are, what we are, and what existence is.
Okay.
So symptomatically, when you begin to study these things, so when you study the hieroglyphics in Medu Netcher,
right,
they're actually, the animals that are there for a particular reason. Like the king is the falcon. Why is the king the falcon? See, symbolically, it's just memorize that. Symptomatically, let's study the falcon. The pelican falcon is the fastest creature on the planet Earth. Can travel 285 miles per hour as it swoops on its enemy. Every animal seeks shelter when there's a storm, except for the pelican falcon. It can fly above the storm.
Wow.
It can look directly at the sun. It has an extra eyelid. So that's like looking in the face of the creator without damaging his eyes. He can go underwater, catch a fish with his pylons and come out, and he's dry. Aerodynamics, water cannot stay on his wings. He has no rivalry in the sky. So the king, understanding the mineral domain, wants to use this symbol to represent his energy.
Right, right.
So you see, in each of those animals, if you look at Jhuti, if you look at each of the animals, that's for a particular reason. If you look at each of the plant, for example, the soup plant, the soup plant represents divinity. Why? It comes from the south, that's up south, where the black people are. Right. Number two, the plant can be eaten. Number three, the plant can be used to make fabric and clothes. You can use it for construction, for making instruments. You can tie it for rope. So this is one plant that you can survive off it. It has 100 different things. So that's why it's divine. And I can go on and on, but I'm trying to show you symptomatically we can prove it. You see, racism is based upon symbolic thought. You don't like somebody, you haven't even met them. So you're just going by what somebody said. Mm-hmm. Racism can only exist through symbolic thought.
Right. Well, and that's bigotry also. Now, when we look at racism and the way I define it, just based upon understanding history and things like this, and we can have a discussion about this. But yeah, not liking people just based upon appearance, things like that. That's hating people, things like that. That's bigotry. But I define racism as,
and even the concept of white is superior. Well, white is albinism. It's recessive. So how could the recessive be more powerful than the dominant?
Right.
See, that's symbolic. So they have to convince you that symbolically. There's no proof based upon that.
Okay.
Right. So that's why I'm saying
it's like stereotypes.
We're learning hieroglyphics.
Yeah. It's like
that's the way the Egyptologists are doing it.
Okay.
We're still going to be lost.
Right. So
look at all the movies that come out. They get all white kings playing African people.
Right. Is that like gods of Egypt?
I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking about movies just came out last year. I'm not talking about like ancient times. I'm not talking about just Uncle B. DeMille's 10 Commandments.
Right.
I'm talking about up to 2020. They're still doing that.
Right.
Like, symbolic thought.
Okay.
Africa is in trouble right now because we learn and teach symbolically.
Okay.
As opposed to symptomatically.
Okay.
I was teaching a course in Ghana with a Shanti tree to Medu Netcher. when I was explaining the stuff in Medu Netcher and told them to me that same word in Chantry, they didn't know the word. The Medu Netcher helps you understand your own language. So It doesn't matter what indigenous African language you speak or whatever. The Medu Netcher will enhance it because those domains I talked about the mineral domain, the spirit domain, all that, it's going to enhance your ability to know that. So that's why we have to stop learning symbolically. You memorize this, you know that. No, symptomatically, you got to go to the root. Why is that called that? Right. Why is the letter starts with an A? Why? Because it's a hawk vulture. The hawk vulture makes that sound. And he's the largest flying bird in the world. You see, symptomatically, I just told you why. Symbolically, 90% of the people who know that that's the A don't know why.
It's a deep, symptomatically is a deeper level of understanding, and it's understanding the why behind what is and how everything is related, as opposed to just memorizing. Memorizing
so it's like
things.
Exoteric versus esoteric, the hidden and the known. The hidden and the known. That which should be known to everybody is hidden, and only secret societies know it. And the common people don't know squat. Right. Like common sense isn't even common anymore.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to people that we have to approach African spirituality from a symptomatic, not mythology. See, mythology is still symbolic thought.
Okay. Mythology is still symbolic thought. I just want to make sure I got what you're saying, so everybody understands. The listeners understand. You said mythology is still symbolic thought. Right. Okay.
It's not necessarily based upon something that's real.
Okay.
It might be talking about a real ideology, but they're using fictitious concepts to come up with it.
Right. It's not literal.
I can make up anything.
Right.
Moses parted the water. No, come on. You know that didn't happen. Swallowed up Pharaoh's army.
Right.
And people will die defending that.
Right.
We
talked about
Jesus
that Monday.
Walked on water. Jesus walked on water. That's symbolic thought.
Right.
That's the sun of the room reflecting on the water. So symptomatically, we need to start learning. Once we change the way we are taught, in other words, watch this. A child is learning his colors. Blue, red, green. Now, if I say blue represents a vibration and I can show them. And then I say blue calms you. Blue affects your heart. Blue affects, and now, instead of just knowing the color blue, symptomatically, the child understands how to use that color in his life.
Right. So you're empowered by it.
To just, that's blue. That's blue. No, that's just symbolic. You don't even know why it's blue. Watch this. Royal blue. The stone lapis lazuli, that color, that deep blue, is called royal blue.
Okay.
Now, everybody around the world knows that color is royal blue, but they don't know why. It's royal blue because the kings in Egypt used that stone, lapis lazuli, as their major stone to represent their royalty.
Right. Okay.
And so the royal family wore that, and then that got passed down to the Greeks, to Rome, and everybody, so they called it royal blue. But the world don't know it's royal blue because of African royalty.
Right.
So you see how powerful symptomatic thinking is? It goes to the root. It goes to not only etymology, but it goes to the root of why something came into existence from a real life experience or real understanding that you can prove.
Right. Exactly.
So I want to teach all of the language, just the Medu Netcher that way, and give examples, just like I gave you the example of the falcon, just like I gave you the Kepler coming into being. The dung beetle rolls a perfect spear with his legs. It's the only creature on the planet that can do that. It takes the dung from the elephants and other animals, drills a hole in the ground. When he drills a hole in the ground to bury it, that's called irrigation. When he puts the dung in the ground, that's called fertilization.
Right.
He's always moving the dung towards the sun, always moving towards light. That means coming into being. So now the ancients studied this, and they understood that the dung beetle in proportion to its size, is the strongest creature on the planet Earth. It can lift 1,150 times its own weight.
Wow.
And then walk with it indefinitely.
Right.
Imagine if you can lift 1,100 times your own weight. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's why it means to coming into being, to transform.
Right. Exactly.
See? So I don't want people just to memorize it. Oh, yeah, the dung beetle means to transform and come into being, and don't know why.
Exactly.
Symptomatically, now as they're studying nature, that's the animal domain.
Right.
Now they understand why the ancient Kemetic used Kepera to come into being, moving towards the light, moving towards wisdom and understanding.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So,
okay, we're coming up on a break. I want you to finish that on the other side of the break. We're talking about the dung beetle, and when we come back, I want you to talk about the Kemetic spiritual system as well. Okay, just hold the line. All right, everybody, we're speaking with Mfundishi Jhutyms. He's going to be here in Detroit, April 30th and May 1st at the Doubletree Hotel for the One Africa Power and Unity Conference. We'll give you some more information on the conference when we come back from the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today. Abundant Capital Group is a real estate investment company with over 20 years of experience in real estate. They specialize in two areas of real estate. One, they solve real estate problems with creative financing solutions that give the seller the most money for their property. And two, they show individuals how to get a higher rate of return on their investment capital with real estate note investing. If you are looking to sell or need to sell your property, here is what they provide. Market value offer, even if you have little or no equity. They typically pay all closing costs, which can be thousands of dollars. They close on a date of the seller's choosing, and the seller does not have to be out of the house at the time of closing. They take the property in an as-is condition, and the seller is not required to make any repairs. Give them a call or email them today for a free consultation and see how they can help you with your real estate needs. Call them at 973-475-8488. That's 973-475-8488. Visit their website, abundantcapitalgroup.com. That's abundantcapitalgroup.com. And email them at acg@abundantcapitalgroup.com. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Abundant Capital Group.
The Superstation, the oldest radio station in town since 1922.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9 10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. All right, we're speaking with Mfundishi Jhutyms. And right before the break, brother, you were talking about the dung beetle and being able to lift 1,000 times its weight. So go ahead and finish your thoughts.
Yes, I was just trying to let people know that symptomatically, when you understand the animal domain, now you know, first of all, how I can use that to my advantage,
right? How
I can imitate some of those particular things and bring them in my life, right? So now when they make a symbol of it, the symbol is interpreted symptomatically as opposed to just symbolically. Right now, we're only learning symbolically. We don't like that, just the details I just gave right now. Right. The average person who even understands ancient Egypt don't know that.
Right.
Because they didn't learn it symptomatically. They only learned it symbolically. Mm-hmm. So even, and so that will make our teachers even much more powerful. I teach teachers because they don't understand this. So if they understand those 5 domains, see, watch, we talk about spiritual. Let's go into the spirit when we end with that. Okay. The spirit domain. We don't have religion. Religion is a Western concept creation.
You're talking about in African society, historically, we didn't have religion. Right.
No, we didn't have any religion. In
right.
ancient Egypt, there was no religion.
Right.
And the Egyptologists got, if you go to their books, they got the gods and goddesses, Egyptian religion. They're putting everything in their paradigm, not ours.
The European paradigm.
Thought.
Yeah, they're
For
putting
example,
it into the European paradigm.
Ramses, they call Ramses II.
Okay.
They got Ramses the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth. They got all the way up to Ramses the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
No two kings in ancient Kemetic, none of those guys with that Ramasu in their name have identical names.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need to call nobody the second to third. You see, in their paradigm, they get like Pope John Paul the 49th.
Right.
You know,
right.
like
right.
they ran out of names. Okay.
Right. Right.
And they superimpose their paradigm on ours. That's symbolic thought.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, if you said Ramses II, he wouldn't even know who you were talking about if he was right here in front of you. Okay, his name is Ursa Ma'at to Kepin Ra, Medi and Amen.
Yep.
You see, so we got to speak their names the way it's supposed to be spoken.
Right.
So, that's how we honor our ancestors. I say there's 4 ways to honor our ancestors.
Okay.
Number 1, you speak their names the way they spoke it. Number 2, you honor their completed great works. You use it in your life symptomatically. Number 3, you complete their incompleted works. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to complete the incompleted works of our ancestors to teach symptomatic thought to the masses of people so we can change the way we think.
Okay.
If we change the way we think, we can liberate ourselves. And then number 4 is you leave images, edifices, statues, carvings, paintings of them so our children will know what our ancestors look like.
Right. Right. That's the
okay,
evidence.
So that's the 4 ways we honor our ancestors. So,
okay.
And again, that's symptomatic thinking. Symptomatic thinking. That's not just symbolic. Why are you studying these ancestors? We're looking at their completed great works. Why are we studying Imhotep? We can look at his works. His works are still there. It's not fictitious.
Right.
The step pyramids built 5,000 years ago is still standing. That's not mythology.
Right.
That's not symbolic thought. That's symptomatic. We can go tomorrow and see it.
Right.
So the spiritual system, like, for example, almost all of Africa and North Africa is predominantly Islamic.
Mm-hmm.
Central and Southern Africa, all the way down, is predominantly Christian. Both of them are foreign thoughts on African people.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them embrace African culture. Both of them are enemies of the African culture, of the spiritual system. Both of them are two different boxes, and even people who are Buddhists and Hindus, those are still boxes. And you notice each box got a problem with everybody else's box. Right. If you're not a Christian, you're an infidel. You're a pagan.
Right.
If you're not a Muslim, you're an infidel. And you notice you could do anything to somebody if they're not part of your box.
You dehumanize them.
That's not spiritual.
Yeah, you dehumanize them. Right.
My God is a jealous God. That's not spiritual. That's not ma'at.
Right.
You see? So
yes.
I just want people to approach spirituality. Spirituality should be building character.
Right. Right.
Not just have a faithful follower. No, building character. So that is important. So the spiritual system, if you understand those 5 domains I talked about it, now you understand that you have the power of thought, the power of speech, like a placebo. Why does a placebo work? Because you believe it's going to work. That means you're healing yourself.
Right.
You have the power to heal yourself. Spirituality teaches you that. Symbolic behavior got you just depending on the doctor and depending on somebody else to heal you outside of yourself.
Right.
So spirituality empowers the people. Religion makes the people just faithful followers.
Okay.
And usually following in a paradigm that's detrimental to your existence. Why would you be following the system of your former enslaver?
Right.
See, that's not even logical. That's symbolic. That's stupid.
Right.
I hate to say that, but
Right, exactly. Let me do this before we run
I don't
out.
want to just step on somebody's personal toes, but religion was created to control people's minds. That's symbolic thought.
Yeah, it binds you back to something. Religion, it binds you back to something. And African people, we have Professor James Small, one of my teachers, on our show Monday night. And one of the things we talked about was the difference between, we talked about the African sacred science in African spirituality and the fact that we did not have religion. And yeah, exactly. And one of my teachers, Dr. Ray Hagins, explains that he says spirituality teaches you how to think, religion tells you what to think. Right.
What to think. Right.
Exactly.
I saw a cartoon one time, and a guy had just joined the church.
Okay.
And the preacher came up to him and opened up his head and took his brain out and said, "You won't be needing that here."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because we're going to be doing all the thinking for you. Okay.
Right.
So my presentation is that I'm going to be proving emphatically how the only way African people, we talk about Pan-Africanism or perish, the only way we'll be able to survive in the future is to change the way we think.
Yes.
We have to start thinking symptomatically in every avenue of our life.
Right.
Every avenue of our life.
Right. And
as opposed to following the system that we're following now, the symbolic thought, the prejudice, the racism, the, reactionary. So most of our new theories is reactionary.
Right. Exactly.
The symbolic thought. We know the symbolic thought is crazy, but we're still not straightening it out. We just create another symbolic thought.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got to go to symptomatic, and there's a book by Edgar Ridley called The Golden Apple.
Okay.
The Golden Apple, Edgar Ridley. And it's basically the book teaches you symptomatic thought is the only way to change the thinking in the world to be able for us to be courageous, dynamic, and in control of our destiny.
Okay. Spell his last name for us, please.
His last name, Ridley, Reidley.
Okay. Reidley. Okay.
Yeah, Edgar Ridley.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay.
And the book is called The Golden Apple.
The Golden Apple. Okay. By Edgar Ridley.
So either my latest two books, Mfundishi Jhutyms and the Spirit of the Magi and Shimsu Haru, I'm teaching that through the Kemetic spiritual system, that whole concept of symptomatic thinking, and showing you how ancient Kemet was created. And now Egyptology has made it into like mythology and hocus pocus, and people are memorizing stuff and don't know why.
Right.
So I wanted to, even the way, we study ancient Kemet. I mean, we need to change that. We're following people who are symbolic. See, the 1% that's controlling the world love symbolic thought. They can just tell you anything and you just believe them.
Right.
And don't have to prove anything.
Right, exactly. And in Now Valley Contributions to Civilization, Tony Browder talks about, I think it's page 193, 194. And I teach online history classes, and I use, that's one of the sources that we use. And he talks about how in Europe, the ruling elite were studying a watered down version of the teachings coming out of ancient Kemet, but they made Christianity readily available for the poor masses of people who 95% of the masses of people in Europe were illiterate. They couldn't even read the Bible. Okay. You see what I'm saying? And they were studying the ruling elite were studying the watered down teachings coming out of ancient Kemet. And we know that the Europeans learned less than 10% of what the ancient Africans knew, but with that less than 10%, they're able to rule the world. So
right. So imagine if we get into our right mind.
Yes.
I did a tour and a lecture inside of the Scottish Rites Temple in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And the Grand Booba, who gives out the 33 degree, came in and said, right, we're 33 degrees. We're just one slice. What this brother is teaching is the 360.
Right.
And he admitted it right to my group. I had Dr. Jeffries and all of them with me in that group.
Was that for the movie, the Tekken? Was that when you were filming?
I mean, they admitted that they're just teaching a small little slice of the African spiritual system.
Right. Okay, we're coming up on a break. Just can you stay with us for a few more minutes, Mfundishi?
Yeah, just to conclude.
That's fine. That's fine. And then was that, now you're in the documentary Hapi, but you're also in the documentary The Tekken, with my teacher, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, one of my teachers, and Taki Grant. And Taki Grant is the executive producer of Hapi. Now, in the documentary, The Tekken, you all deal with how the layout of Washington, D.C. is a copy of the layout of ancient Egypt, and in the hidden secrets in the layout of Washington, D.C. is deep. You know?
This was supposed to be Kemet of the West.
Kemet of the West, exactly. Kemet of the West.
This was supposed to be Kemet of the West.
And the Washington Monument is a Tekken, 555 feet. That's an ancient African symbol.
Yeah, a false Tekken.
A false Tekken. Yes, it's a false Tekken. Right.
Because it's not made from one solid stone. Yes. Correct.
Exactly.
And real Tekken has to be out of one solid stone. But yes, and that represents resurrection, renewal, and rebirth.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, we're coming up on the break. Right. We're going to let you conclude on the other side of the break, okay? So stand by. Everybody, you listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Jeanette Davis is a well-established author with 6 published books. Black Survival in White America from Past History to the Next Century was published in 1995, and it delves into the history of African Americans before slavery up to contemporary times. The Great Divide Between Blacks and Whites was released in 2008, and her autobiography, Black Just Like My Mama, was published in 2010. Soulful Journey, The Business of Beings, was released in December 2021, and her 2 latest books, Echoes from the Heart, Love Throws Poetry, and Master Being Human, were both published in January of 2022. Jeanette Davis' writings delve deeply into the psyche of Black people from ancient to contemporary times. She cuts no corners and leaves no stones unturned in relating truth, letting the chips fall where they may on both African and European doorsteps. Order Jeanette Davis's books today at Amazon.com. Search for Jeanette Davis and get to know her work today.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
Okay, welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. All right, we're speaking with Mfundishi Jhutyms, and his website is mfundishijhutyms.net. We have it up here on the screen. Okay, go ahead, brother, and finish your thoughts here.
Yes, we were just talking about the Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Washington, D.C.
It was supposed to be Kemet of the West. You see, most of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence were all Freemasons.
Right.
So that means they were studying ancient African studies.
Right.
And so Washington, D.C. was 10 square miles.
Mm-hmm.
The Potomac River cuts it directly in half. The Potomac River was to act like the Nile River.
Right.
On the west is the Arlington Cemetery. But on the west of the Nile is the Valley of the Kings. So the Arlington Cemetery buries the dignitaries and presidents and stuff of that nature, just like ancient Kemet. The living temples are on the east side, so that's where the White House is and all of those buildings.
Exactly.
Just like in Kemet, you have the Temple of Amen and all of them on the eastern bank. Watch this. It's cut directly in half. One half is in Virginia, and one half is in Maryland. Maryland represents Mary, and Virginia is the Virgin. So the Virgin Mary gives birth to the new nation.
Right.
See? Symptomatic thinking. We got to know. And in the middle of all of that is the Tekken, which is really a black penis.
Yeah.
A black penis
of a
that represents resurrection, renewal, and rebirth.
Yeah.
So this was Europeans taking control of this new old ancient society concept, and the people didn't realize it because they only knew it symbolically, but they were trying to study it symptomatically.
Well, this is
okay. So all of Washington D is set up. 16th Street, it divides it straight down. Is the most spiritual, the most religious, I should say, not spiritual, the most religious street in the world. Every religion has a temple or a church on that street going right through Washington, D.C. And then Meridian Hill Park, and then you have the Freemasons. Even the numbers of Freemasonry and the Scottish Rites, the York Rite and the Scottish Rites Temple, they use numerology, for their addresses. And on top of it, it's a step pyramid. And that's where you get your 33 degrees. I mean, and I could go on and on and on. It's all designed, but we don't know it because we've only been taught symbolic thought.
But we've also been taught.
Why symptomatic thinking is so important. We have to go to the root. Why was it done?
Right.
What was the reason why?
But
we created phi, the golden means, by imitating nature.
Right. Now the other thing was, and we're almost out of time here. The other thing was, we've been taught to run away from Africa and hate Africa at the same time. Yeah. And one of the things is, when our people, now this may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness, but when our people watch the 10 Commandments on Easter Eve and think that the ancient Egyptians enslaved the Jews in the Exodus and all that stuff.
See, they have no proof of all. In fact, even their scholars are proving that none of that happened. Right. There was no great flood. Not great flood, but there was no parting of the Nile. There was no great Exodus.
Part of the Red Sea, yeah.
It's not even a great Exodus into Israel. All that's made up. That's perceived symbolically.
Right.
I can tell you anything. I don't have to be able to prove it.
Right. Well,
so that's why symptomatic teaching. So that's the core. I want people to embrace spirituality. I want people to embrace the knowledge of the planet, the knowledge of the universe. Right. We are omnipowerful if only we would really study.
Well, brother.
And I just want to close. I want to close by saying these things here.
Go ahead.
We're all visitors on this planet.
Right.
We come here to learn, to study, to share, to love, to protect the planet, and complete our earthly mission and return home.
Okay, absolutely.
And so understanding those 5 domains is going to liberate us and help us start to think symptomatically, and then we can do for ourselves. You just mentioned, for example, Africa's the richest continent. There is no future without Africa.
Right.
There is no technology, the minerals and stuff that they need. See, going back to the mineral domain.
Right.
And we don't even know what we got.
Right.
You can't have a cell phone. You can't have technology without Africa. You can't fly a jet plane. The cobalt, the nickel, all comes out of Africa, the Congo, and places like that. Right. And places where the most minerals are, the government is the most disabled.
Exactly.
So the Europeans can come in and get free energy, free stuff, free, and then they cause the problem and they make it sound like they're the savior. That don't even make no sense. See, that's symbolic thinking.
Right. Exactly.
So we have to change the way we think, my brother. I hope people who are listening understand that.
Absolutely.
We are doomed unless we learn how to think differently.
And that's
we have been programmed for self-destruction.
And that's what he'll be teaching at the One Africa Power and Unity Conference taking place Saturday,
so
April 30th.
People will come out. I have my books. Okay. I have my books there. I have a table with crystals, gemstones. I have my own clothesline. Even Dr. Clark told us they laughed at our clothes and we changed them. They laughed at our names and we changed them. They laughed at our spiritual system and we changed it. We got to stop laughing and get serious and go back to what works for us.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Well, look, man, you have a good night. I'll see you here in Detroit. I'll be there. I'll have a vendor table there as well. I may be on one of the panels also. Yeah. But you have a good night, brother. Okay, Hotep. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, Mfundishi. Take care. Peace. All right, everybody. All right, Shemotep. Okay, everybody. The One Africa Power and Unity Conference is taking place Saturday, April 30th through Sunday, May 1st. 2022 at the DoubleTree Hotel. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's right on the homepage. Okay, so if you cannot attend in person, you can live stream the event from around the world. All right, and we have the link here to register for it. Saturday, April 30th, Sunday, May 1st. Mfundishi, Dr. Linda Jeffries, Professor James Small, Asar Imhotep, who we had on last night, Professor Kabahai Wafka Kamene is going to be doing a presentation as well. Dr. Rosalind Jeffries and many others. Okay. So check this out here at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. We have a new class starting up Saturday, April 23rd, class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Atlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. This is a 10-week online course that I teach. Is on sale, $80, regular $130. Right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on register here. It takes you to the next page. And as soon as you register, we have content that you can start watching. We have bonus content you can start watching. And you can join us in class Saturday. The class is regularly $130. It's on sale $80. Click right here on enroll. And even after the course is over with, you can still you'll still have access to the full class. Okay. The slide that I showed you that said Egypt of the West, and it had a Tekken from Ancient Kemet, and it also has the Washington Monument. This is one of the slides from the actual class. It's a visual presentation that I do. So you're going to learn a ton of information. It's about 200 slides, actually over 200 slides in the class. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching for a few more minutes. We're going to deal with this story here, dealing with Benjamin Crump going after Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is killing Black homeowners' opportunities. Remember, right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Okay, stand by. Okay, let me post the link here for the new class that starts up. Now, if you've taken any of my online courses in the past, email us at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com and you'll get a 50% discount. Email us at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com for a 50% discount. We have the information on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, there's a bundle pack you can register for where you'll get both classes that I teach, because we have a new section of from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. That starts up Sunday, May 8th with class number 1. So you'll get both classes for $120. That's a $260 value. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I want to go to this second story here. So I saw this. I heard about Mayor Eric Adams yesterday. New York Mayor Eric Adams is taking a stand against Wells Fargo. City government won't open any accounts over banks' persistent track record of discrimination. I saw that story today, and I heard something. I heard about it yesterday. Roland Martin talked about it yesterday. Then I saw this story today dealing with Benjamin Crump as well. And the story from CBS News. Okay, so we're going to look at both of these here quickly. Also, I was trying to get it in. Mfundishi has so much information. I wanted to give you a reference point. When we talked about the Exodus, I want to give you a historical reference point so you can research this yourself. Proper documentation ends all conversation. This article here from history.com called Passover, okay, called Passover. And this deals with the Passover, what the Passover is and things like this in the story, stories from the Bible. But then it has a section dealing with a question of historical accuracy, okay? And we talked about this last night, and we talked about this Sunday when I did my presentation dealing with the history of Easter, pagan traditions, the Exodus, things like that. Okay. So if you look at this article here, this is at history.com, official website of the History Channel. So they go through and they talk about the story of Passover and all this stuff, right? And they talk about the Exodus and Moses leading his people out of Egypt. And they talk about the Red Sea opening up and closing to drown the Egyptians. They talk about the 10 plagues, all right? Then there's this section here that everybody needs to read, questions of historical accuracy. That's at the end, okay? Then they talk about Passover traditions, okay, things like this. But it says here, now this may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. For centuries, scholars have been debating the details and historical merit of the events commemorated during the Passover. Despite numerous attempts, historians and archaeologists have failed to corroborate the tale of the Jews' enslavement in and mass exodus from Egypt. Despite numerous attempts, now this is not me saying this is not Mfundishi, this is the History Channel. And they're breaking this down, and they're absolutely correct. Despite numerous attempts, historians and archaeologists have failed to corroborate the tale of the Jews' enslavement in and mass exodus from Egypt. Okay, now we're dealing with history. We're not anti anybody. We're not trying to put people down or things like this. We're dealing with history and the evidence. Although the ancient Egyptians kept thorough records, no mention is made of an Israelite community within their midst or any calamities resembling the 10 biblical plagues. There is also, now this is like the really, really, really important part. There is also no evidence of large encampments in the Sinai Peninsula, the fabled site of the Jews wandering, or any sudden fluctuation in Israel's archaeological record that would indicate the departure from Israel and return of a large population. So there's no record in Israel and no record in Egypt. Okay, but here's the thing: they were supposed to be in the sign. They were supposed to be in the desert for 40 years. They're supposed. I think they break it down in this article here. They're supposed to be in the desert 40 tumultuous years, according to the Hebrew Bible. This is not an attack on anybody's religion. If you can believe what you want to believe, but we're dealing with facts and evidence. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Jews, now numbering in the hundreds of thousands, really supposed to be somewhere between, I think, about 1.5 million to 2 million, then trekked through the Sinai desert for 40 tumultuous years before finally reaching their ancestral home in Canaan, later known as the land of Israel. So this is the Exodus. This is when they leave Egypt. Okay, they're supposed to be out in the desert for 40 years. Now you can believe what you want to believe, but we're dealing with, okay, where's the evidence that this took place? See, world, as I said before, this may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you disagree with it or don't like it does not mean it's not true. It just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about. Okay. World history is in world history books. Religious literature is something else. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself, put on your thinking caps. The question you have to ask yourself is, okay, so if they were wandering around in the desert for 40 years, what did they eat? What did they eat for food in the desert for 40 years? You ever seen a desert before? What did they eat? They're cacti, the cactus plant. You may see some rattlesnakes, but what did 1.5 million to 2 million people? Okay, What did they eat in the desert for 40 years? Where did they get water in the desert for 40 years for 1.5 million to 2 million people? Or 500,000 people? Or 200,000? Where did they get water from for 40 years? Where did they get clothes from? You can't wear the same clothes for 10, 20, 30 years out there in the desert. I mean, you're going to outgrow your clothes. Did they have livestock with them? If they had livestock with them, where did they get food for the livestock? Where did they get water for the livestock? So you're dealing with mythological stories. If you want to have mythological stories, that's fine, but you can't confuse mythology with world history. Just because something is supposed to have taken place in a geographical region that exists, Egypt exists, but just because they say something takes place in Egypt, that don't mean what they say took place in Egypt. It just means Egypt exists. You have to understand the difference between world history and religious literature. Stories are told in allegory, hyperbole, parables, and metaphors. That's fine. But you can't pass off mythology as world history. That's a problem. Read this article here from history.com, official website of the History Channel. They go through and break this down. So this is what Mfundishi and I were talking about. And this is one of the reasons why many of our people have been taught to hate Africa. Because of this story here. And they watch the 10 Commandments every Easter or Easter Eve. And they watch and they think they're watching history. And they don't know history to understand the difference between history and mythology. Okay, let's go to this next story here. So I saw this story this morning. This is dealing with Wells Fargo. Now, you know, we've talked about Wells Fargo here on the show before. And there was a story from last month. We dealt with the story. Bloomberg had a huge report that they did dealing with how Wells Fargo had discriminated against African-American homeowners when it came to refinancing home mortgages, okay? When it came to refinancing home mortgages. And you had, it was about 53% of, let me see, it was about 53% of African-Americans. There was, try to close that, okay. The Fortune.com had a big article on this. Wells Fargo rejected nearly half of their Black homeowners refinancing applications. It was 53%. They rejected 53%, only accepted 47%. Okay. So you may remember that we talked about this here on the show back in March. Okay. This article is from March 16th. And I'm going to try to pull this up here. Let's see. Wells Fargo rejected half of their Black homeowners. Okay, this is the one from Fortune.com. Okay, this one right here. Okay, so this piece came out March 16th. Let me switch over to it. Wells Fargo rejected nearly half of their Black homeowners refinancing applications. Okay. And if we look at this here, only 47% of Black homeowners who submitted refinance applications in 2020 were approved by Wells Fargo, as opposed to 72% of white homeowners, according to a Bloomberg News analysis published on March 11th. While white applicants had higher approval rates at all major lenders, Wells Fargo in particular lagged behind other major lenders in their approval rates for minority applicants. Only 71% of Black refinancing applicants in the country were approved in 2020, according to Bloomberg's analysis. Wells Fargo only approved 47% of Black homeowners who were trying to refinance mortgages, compared to the overall industry average of 71% for African Americans refinancing their home mortgages. Now, Wells Fargo, the third largest bank in the United States by assets, was the sole lender that rejected more African American applicants than it accepted. They were the only lender that rejected more African American applicants than they accepted. Black homeowners faced more refinancing denials than other minority applicants, such as Hispanic homeowners and Asian homeowners, who had approval rates from Wells Fargo at 53% and 67% respectively. So 53% for Hispanic homeowners and 67% for African American homeowners. Okay, so read the rest of the article here. We talked about it. We talked about it in March when this came out. Wells Fargo rejected nearly half of their Black homeowners refinancing applications. Now, if we look at this piece here from CBS News from April 19th, George Floyd's lawyer, Wells Fargo is killing Black homeowners' opportunities. Okay, and they're talking about Ben Crump. Wells Fargo, the largest lender among U.S. banks, is currently looking at a possible class action lawsuit, as well as criticism from Capitol Hill, from Congress, over claims it denied Black people a shot at home ownership. In recent days, civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump joined an amended complaint filed Thursday, last Thursday, April 14th. In recent days, civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump joined an amended complaint filed Thursday, April 14th in federal court in San Francisco. Quote, "We are suing Wells Fargo to demand they change their practices that are killing Black homeowners' opportunities. We are suing Wells Fargo to demand they change their practices that are killing Black homeowners' opportunities." This is what Benjamin Crump tweeted on Thursday. And we see the tweet here. And he tweeted this here April 14th. Last month, it was reported that Wells Fargo, approved only 47% of Black homeowners' mortgage applications, compared to 72% of white applicants. We are suing Wells Fargo to demand they change their practices that are killing Black homeowners' opportunities. Absolutely. We are suing Wells Fargo to demand that they, let me see here. We are suing Wells Fargo to demand that they change their practices that are killing Black homeowners' opportunities. Now, one suit filed in February of 2022 involves claims by Georgia resident Chris Williams that the bank tried to charge him a higher rate than his credit score warranted when he looked to refinance his home mortgage in 2019. Okay. Additional plaintiffs have signed on as well, with attorneys now seeking to make it a class action lawsuit. The bank denied applications, Wells Fargo denied applications of more than half of the African Americans seeking to refinance in 2020, and just under 50% the next year. According to an amended lawsuit filed by attorney Dennis Ellis, quote, no other major lending institution refused to refinance the homes of Black Americans at such stunning rates. Okay. And we got locked out of being able to refinance homes and get a lower interest rate, which cost us millions of dollars. Okay. Collectively. Could be in the billions. I don't know. Our lawsuit comes on the heels of reporting by Bloomberg in late March. Ellis said of the news services reporting, which showed Wells Fargo approved only 47% of Black homeowners who completed applications to refinance mortgages in 2020, compared with 72% of white applicants. Quote, the notion that we're still talking about redlining in 2020 by a major financial institution is shocking. Okay, Dennis Ellis told CBS Money Watch, a reference to a practice that in the past included the Federal Housing Administration's refusing to insure mortgages in and around African-American communities, African-American neighborhoods. Adding insult to injury, Black applicants were disproportionately denied or delayed by Wells Fargo at a time when record low interest rates had borrowers scurrying to refinance and reduce their monthly payments, said Dennis Ellis. Okay, attorney Dennis Ellis. Quote, it's significantly unfair and a detriment to our society as a whole that Black Americans did not get to take advantage of low rates that will likely never be seen again. That came during the height of the pandemic. It affects the white Americans who live next door. Their kids aren't able to experience the diversity of a mosaic environment. Now, Wells Fargo dismissed the allegations in an emailed statement. Wells Fargo said in the email, in 2020, Wells Fargo was the largest bank lender for home mortgages to Black families. This is consistent with the company's performance over the last decade, 2011 to 2020, in which it has helped as many Black families purchase homes as the next three largest bank lenders combined. Any suggestion that our home lending practices are discriminatory is meritless, end quote. Now, Wells Fargo, but we're talking about being able to refinance homes. Okay, we're talking about not buy homes. We're not talking about buying a home or getting a home mortgage. We're talking about refinancing an existing home mortgage. Now, Wells Fargo is also getting called out by Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Ron Wyden of Oregon, with the Democrats noting the bank's, quote, history of scamming and mistreating consumers. Wells Fargo's history of scamming and mistreating consumers. Now, that includes a $184 million settlement in 2012 with the Department of Justice over allegations that Wells Fargo steered qualified African Americans and Hispanic borrowers to subprime mortgages. Okay, I remember when this happened. So you had African Americans who qualified for traditional mortgages, didn't know it, and got steered by Wells Fargo and other unscrupulous banks into subprime mortgages, paying thousands of dollars more. Many of these people ended up losing their homes. Now, 4 years later, Wells Fargo found itself at the center of a scandal that cost the CEO his job, along with 5,000 other employees. Many people remember this. The bank in 2016, Wells Fargo, was fined nearly $200 million for illegally opening millions of phony deposit and credit card accounts. Because what this does is this shows more growth for shareholders, things like this. It makes it look like, oh, you're opening up all these accounts, bank accounts, things like this. That's false growth. Okay, is fraud. 2 years later, in 2018, Wells Fargo was fined more than $1 billion to settle federal charges into consumer abuses related to its automobile lending, and mortgage business. Okay, so these have not been good. The past few years have not been good for Wells Fargo. Okay, as far as treating customers correctly. So read this article here. So George Ben Crump has joined the fight, and he and others are going to sue Wells Fargo. And yeah, they're killing Black homeowners' opportunities and robbing many African Americans of wealth and generational wealth. So there was this story here today. April 19th. The story April 19th from CBS News. Then also I saw this one here from this one here is from MSN.com. I think this was MSN. Or Yahoo News. This is from Yahoo News. New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Let's pull this up. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is taking a stand against Wells Fargo. City government won't open any more accounts over bank's persistent track record of discrimination. And this is an article they picked up from AtlantaBlackStar.com. This one right here. Okay. So this is from a Monday, April 18th. And Roland Martin talked about this some on Tuesday. And I'll be back on Roland's show on Friday. I'm a panelist usually each Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Download the Black Star Media app to your smartphone, to your devices. You can watch Roland Martin Unfiltered Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He also broadcasts on Facebook and YouTube, Roland S. Martin on Facebook and YouTube. Now, banking giant Wells Fargo has been embroiled in many discrimination lawsuits over the years. The most recent one in February for discriminatory lending practices. As a result, Wells Fargo's discriminatory lending practices against Black home buyers. New York City, as a result of Wells Fargo's discriminatory lending practices against Black home buyers, New York City has announced the city government will not open any new bank accounts with Wells Fargo and Company. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's African American for those that don't know it, and City Comptroller Brad Lander made the announcement last Friday. Quote, in light of this persistent track record of discrimination, New York City will not be opening any new depository accounts with Wells Fargo Bank. Okay, as we continue to investigate these troubling findings, they wrote in a joint statement. Now, Bloomberg News investigation helped New York City reach the decision. The Bloomberg investigation found that the bank approved Black homeowners seeking to refinance mortgages during the pandemic at a much lower rate than white ones. Now, in a joint letter to Wells Fargo, Chief Executive Officer Charlie Scharf, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, and Comptroller Brad Lander said the decision was due to the checkered history of Wells Fargo's mortgage business going back to the 2008 financial crisis, when the bank and others were accused, Investment News reported. In light of this persistent track record of discrimination, New York City will not be opening any new depository accounts with Wells Fargo. Okay, so check out the rest of this article as well. So that's some good news. You'll probably hear more cities led by African Americans that are going to take a similar stance as well. All right, look, be sure to register we have a new class starting up Saturday, April 23rd. Class number 1 of our 10-week online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We have the information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We just posted the link here also. The class is on sale, $80, regularly $130. And as soon as you register, there's bonus content that you can start watching. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You don't have to attend class at a certain time or anything like that. You can join us live if you have the time, but all sessions are recorded. We do after we do the live class, it's all, we archive it, so you can go back and watch it anytime. So all live sessions will be recorded and archived, so you can go back and watch it anytime. And even after the 10-week online course is over with, you'll still have access to the class. You can still go back and watch the full class, okay? So it's a Saturday, April 23rd, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Click right here on Register Here. It takes you to the next page. Click on Enroll. And as soon as you register, you can start watching content. And it's a very visual class. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips. You don't have to buy any of the books in class. And a lot of them, I scan the pages and show it to you on the screen. So you're going to learn a lot. You can use this information with your children. I would say the content is PG-13, okay? But you're going to learn a lot in the class. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Also, if you've taken any of my online courses in the past, email me at TheAHNShow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You get a 50% discount on this. And we have a bundle pack when you can register for both of my classes, this one and From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. You get both classes for $120. It's $260 value. And then also we'll include in that one, a bundle pack, we should include Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization, in that as well. So that's a third class that I'm teaching. And we're going to have more sessions of it than originally it was going to be 2 sessions, but we've already had 2 sessions of Great African Women in History. So it's going to be more than 2 sessions. It'll probably be end up being 4 sessions, something like that. So we do that on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Great African Women in History, the Mothers of Civilization. We're going to schedule another one of those classes probably in the next 2 weeks, because I'm trying to get the class and the content really where I want it to be. That one was $25 and it was going to be 2 sessions, but we're just going to make that part of the bundle pack. So it'll be 3 classes that you'll get in the bundle for $120 also. But email us at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com with any questions. And we have the information on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win, Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Be sure to register for the One Africa Power and Unity Conference also, okay? And I'll be there. It's in Detroit. I'll be there, and I'll have a vendor booth, and we'll have my lectures there. You can come out and talk to me. And if you can't attend in person, you can live stream the event, okay? All right, we'll talk to you next time. Peace.
STEM Forward, helping our community find their place in the emerging fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Join us for our monthly live stream on our website, stemforwardedu.org. Watch, subscribe, share. Also join our mailing list to stay up to date with STEM resources and opportunities. STEM Forward, the future is now. Watch, subscribe, share.
Jeanette Davis is a well-established author with 6 published books. Black Survival in White America from Past History to the Next Century was published in 1995, and it delves into the history of African Americans before slavery up to contemporary times. The Great Divide Between Blacks and Whites was released in 2008, and her autobiography, Black Just Like My Mama, was published in 2010. Soulful Journey, The Business of Beings, was released in December 2021, and her 2 latest books, Echoes from the Heart, Love Throws Poetry, and Master Being Human, were both published in January of 2022. Jeanette Davis' writings delve deeply into the psyche of Black people from ancient to contemporary times. She cuts no corners and leaves no stones unturned in relating truth, letting the chips fall where they may on both African and European doorsteps. Order Jeanette Davis's books today at Amazon.com. Search for Jeanette Davis and get to know her work today.
What does self-care mean to you? To us, it's an opportunity to reconnect with nature. A chance to create something remarkable. At Sage and Elm Apothecary, our handcrafted skincare and household products immerse you in Earth's sweetest nectar, connecting you to nature in a way you never imagined. See for yourself and visit us at sageandelmapothecary.com.
Abundant Capital Group is a real estate investment company with over 20 years of experience in real estate. They specialize in 2 areas of real estate. 1, they solve real estate problems with creative financing solutions that give the seller the most money for their property. And 2, they show individuals how to get a higher rate of return on their investment capital with real estate note investing. If you are looking to sell or need to sell your property, here is what they provide. Market value offer, even if you have little or no equity. They typically pay all closing costs, which can be thousands of dollars. They close on a date of the seller's choosing, and the seller does not have to be out of the house at the time of closing. They take the property in an as-is condition, and the seller is not required to make any repairs. Give them a call or email them today for a free consultation and see how they can help you with your real estate needs. Call them at 973-475-8488. That's 973-475-8488. Visit their website, abundantcapitalgroup.com, that's abundantcapitalgroup.com, and email them at acg@abundantcapitalgroup.com. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Abundant Capital Group. iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
What does self-care mean to you? To us, it's an opportunity to reconnect with nature. A chance to create something remarkable. At Sage and Elm Apothecary, our handcrafted skincare and household products immerse you in Earth's sweetest nectar, connecting you to nature in a way you never imagined. See for yourself and visit us at sageandelmapothecary.com.